I never liked telling this story, not because I was afraid people wouldn't believe me, but because every time I thought about it, I felt like someone's eyes were watching me from under the table or behind a half-closed door. But if I didn't tell it, I was afraid I would hear it calling me forever. My family always went to Uncle Alan's house for Christmas. The house was at the end of a dirt road, next to a stretch of forest as black as a thick cloth. It had been there since his great-grandfather's time, built of oak and laterite. The beams were eaten by termites. The stairs creaked like bones rubbing against each other. My grandmother used to say, "A house with a lot of creaking wood means it misses its past." When I was little, I didn't understand, but now I wish I had listened more carefully. That year, Christmas 2009, the sky was unusually cold. Steam rose from our mouths like smoke. Snow lay thick on the roof, heavy, bending the rafters. In the kitchen, the smell of roast chicken, cinnamon apples, and the voices of adults talking made everything seem warm. But as soon as I entered the house, I saw Lauren, my sister, stop. She looked up at the ceiling, where a crack ran like a narrow smile. "Did you hear that?" Lauren asked. I asked again, "Hear what?" "She's walking." I heard nothing but the voices of adults. But in that moment, for the first time in my life, I saw my sister pale. We finished dinner at nearly 9 o'clock. The adults went upstairs to watch football. Snow was falling heavily outside the windows. Yellow lights covered the snowflakes like dying rain. In that moment, like every year, we decided to play hide and seek. The game took place on the ground floor. The upstairs and basement were off limits. Uncle Alan had once told us sternly, "Never go down into the basement. Don't. Do you hear me?" No one asked why. Children thought adults were just exaggerating. I was the one counting. I turned my face to the wall, covering my eyes with my hands. Sen. I heard footsteps clattering on the wooden floor, the sound of curtains swaying, the sound of closet doors banging. But then, when I counted to 15, all the sounds stopped. No laughter, no running, just a silence as thick as ice. 20. I'm going to look. Lauren was never found. Uncle Alan's house was closed a year later. The police listed it as missing in the woods, even though there was no evidence. But I knew it didn't happen in the woods. It happened in the house, in the dark places where the lights didn't reach, in the spaces between the stairs, in the cracks in the basement door, in places adults never looked long enough. In 2014, I returned to the house for the first time. I stood in the front yard, looking at the basement window. The glass was opaque, but for a few seconds, I saw a small face pressed against the glass, eyes dark and unreflecting. I stepped back, gasping for breath. The face disappeared. As I turned to leave, the basement door opened, making a slow, drawn-out sound like a human moan. From below came 3 small, familiar knocks. Tick, 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 just like the night Lauren disappeared. Then a whisper, as small as a child's breath. Found, found. I ran. That night and many nights after I woke up at 3:17 a.m., the same time Lauren disappeared in the police records. Each time I heard small footsteps running across the floor. I looked down at the foot of the bed and saw the closet door open slowly, a crack. No one was there, but on the floor, I saw 3 small, fresh fingernail prints, as if something was trying to push the door open from the inside. I closed the closet door, turned off the light, but I knew it was still there. It looked for children. It imitated their voices. It was very good at hide and seek, and it's always the last one to count. I checked each room, living room, kitchen, bathroom, closet, empty. Not a single child. Although I had played hide and seek dozens of times, this time the house seemed larger, colder, and deeper. The yellow light looked dirty and weak, as if it were about to go out. I called out, "Lauren, Michael, Ashley," no answer. I walked into the hallway, and that's when I saw the first thing that made me shiver. The basement door was a crack open. The old, heavy, rotten wooden door was always closed with a latch. I didn't know why it was open that night. A cold wind blew up from below. The smell of damp earth, the smell of rotten wood, the smell of something very old. "No, don't," I whispered to myself. But Lauren was good at hiding. She might have gone down there. I turned on my flashlight and walked down. The steps creaked, as if they were bearing my weight. I reached the 5th step and the flashlight dimmed, flickering. The basement was so dark that the light could only reach a few meters. I called out, "Lauren, are you down there?" A long time, nothing. Then suddenly, I heard something moving in the darkness, like clothes scraping against a wall, like bare feet dragging on cement. I shone my flashlight in that direction. I saw nothing. I saw only a deep, muddy shadow. "Loudon, stop yoking." I took another step, and then, right at the foot of the stairs, a small hand reached out and placed itself on the wooden step. I froze, my heart pounding. The hand was small, pale, like a child's. I bent down. "Lauren, is that you?" The hand withdrew into the darkness. He shone me flashlight after it. No one was there. I ran back up to the ground floor and slammed the door. I shouted, calling for an adult. Uncle Alan, my mother, and a few others ran down. "Lauren's gone," I cried. They searched the house. Uncle Alan went down to the basement for a few minutes, and then came back up, his face white. He just said, "There's no one down there." But I knew he was lying. As soon as he was in the basement, I heard footsteps running around him, not one person, but several. No one believed me. But then, as everyone split up to search the yard, my mother shouted, "Lauren, Lauren." We all ran to where she was. In the snow, near the back door, there was a small footprint, only one. No further steps, no path, just a footprint like someone stepped on it and then disappeared into the air. The police came at 1 a.m. They searched the entire woods behind the house. No trace, no clue, no sound of a lost 9-year-old. But while they were searching, I was about 10 meters from the house, and I heard it from the basement, a very small whisper, like the wind coming through a crack in the door. "Andrew, come down here and play with me." I was cold from head to toe. It wasn't Lauren's voice. It sounded like Lauren, but it wasn't right. It was like someone imitating my sister's voice, but not understanding the emotion of the voice. Uncle Alan came to me. He said very softly, "You mustn't answer. Whatever you hear, don't answer." I used to think the scariest place in the world was the woods at night. But after the winter of 2011, I knew I was wrong. There's nothing scarier than an empty floor, once filled with the sounds of children laughing, now so quiet you can hear your heart pounding in your ears. I was interning at Deerbrook Elementary School, an old school built in 1938. The building was 3 stories, with the 3rd floor permanently closed in 1996. The record said the ceiling was weak and dangerous, but the teachers at the school told stories that weren't in the records. Don't go to the 3rd floor after 4 p.m. If you hear running up there, ignore it. Never answer a child calling your name. I thought the adults were teasing me. Who doesn't want to scare a new teacher? I was wrong. On December 14, it had been snowing since morning. After school, most of the students had gone home. Only 3 of us were left. Ethan, Marcus, and Lily, the 3 naughtiest kids in the class. Their parents were stuck in the storm, so I stayed to watch them. Around 5 o'clock, The snow was so thick that no one could drive. We were stuck in the school. I played word games and guessing games, but the kids got bored very quickly. Marcus suggested, "Let's play hide and seek with us, just 10 minutes. I smiled and said, "The school is very big, we can't play here." Ethan looked at me and said very innocently, "There are many places to hide on the 3rd floor. I paused. "No, that floor is off limits," Ethan said, "but there are footsteps there." A chill ran down my spine. The school was empty. No one was there. No one should be there. Marcus ran to the stairwell. I yelled for them to stop. Lily grabbed my hand, pulled it gently, and whispered so softly I almost didn't hear, "Miss, don't let us play with him." I was about to ask who him was, but as soon as I opened my mouth, footsteps echoed down the 3rd floor, soft, fast, and completely without the rhythm of an adult. "Did you hear that?" Ethan said, his eyes shining with delight. I heard it, clearly. Small steps ran across the hallway above me. Marcus laughed. "Someone's up there playing. Let's go up." I grabbed Marcus's hand, but he jerked it away and ran up the stairs. Ethan laughed after me. Lily stopped, tears streaming down her face. "Miss, don't make him find me." That sentence sent shivers down my spine. I quickly pulled Lily and ran after the other two. The stairs to the 3rd floor were so cold I could see my breath. The door to the 3rd floor wasn't locked, just ajar. Marcus threw the door open, shouting, "Who's hiding? I'm looking for them." I wanted to scream to stop, but my throat felt tight. The air on the 3rd floor was heavy as lead. The hallway was long, dark, and dusty. The walls were peeling paint. The glass doors were broken. The curtains fluttered slightly in the wind. The classroom was empty, the desks and chairs covered in a thick layer of dust that looked like they hadn't been touched in decades. Marcus ran into the first room on the left. Ethan ran into the room across the hall, and I stood in the hallway, holding Lily in my arms, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my head. Then I heard a child's laughter, so close, right behind me. I turned around, no one, but the laughter was still there, as if coming from the shadows between the windows. Lily clung to me, trembling. She said under her breath, "He likes you." I picked Lily up, intending to pull the children down, but Ethan ran out, his face pale. "Miss Rebecca, where is Marcus?" I said. "He's in the next room." Ethan shook his head vigorously. "No, I just came in. There's no one." I ran into that room. The room was empty. There was no back door. There was no place Marcus could have escaped. There was only thick dust on the floor, and in the dust was a small footprint, leading to the corner of the room. But the footprint was unusually deep, as if Marcus had been pulled away by some terrible force. I stepped back and saw a long streak on the wall like a child's hand swiping through the dust. The closer I looked, the more I realized it wasn't a child's hand. The fingers were unusually long, like a wooden doll's arm being stretched. I heard a sound of pulling rustle from the ceiling. Ethan clung to me, crying, "Ma'am, Marcus isn't answering me anymore." I covered my ears as I heard the sound of running across the ceiling, running back down the hallway, and stopping right above us. Boom! A strong force hit the ceiling, sending dust flying like snow. Lily screamed. Ethan hugged me, shaking like he had malaria. I picked up Lily, pulled Ethan toward the stairs, but when I stepped out into the hallway, I saw the door at the end of the row opening by itself. Slowly, very slowly. The hinges creaked as if someone was pulling with a fingernail. From the hair-thin opening, a very small hand, so white it shone through the light, reached out and grabbed the edge of the door. I froze in place. The hand knocked on the door 3 times. Tick, tick, tick. I recognized the sound. It was exactly the same as the knocking Lauren, story 1, had heard before she disappeared, but I had never told anyone. Lily buried her face in my shoulder, sobbing. "He found Marcus. Now it's your turn." I picked up Lily, pulled Ethan, and rushed down the stairs. But when we reached the landing, the light in the downstairs hallway turned on. A small figure ran through the light, so fast I couldn't see clearly. I held the two children tightly. Ethan was out of breath. Lily lost consciousness on my shoulder. I dragged them downstairs, locked the stairwell door, and pushed the furniture against the door. It took the police 20 minutes to get there through the storm. I told them everything in a state of panic. They found Ethan and Lily. I was taken to the emergency room for heat stroke. As for Marcus, no one found him. No footprints, no handprints, no signs of running out of the building. But on the desk in the teacher's room, the police placed in front of me something they had just found in a vacant corner of the 3rd floor. A piece of paper torn from a student's notebook. On it was a line written in pencil, scrawled like a child's scribble. "Don't hide. It's your turn." The handwriting was Marcus's. Deerbrook School closed that year. The entire 3rd floor was welded together with steel. No one was allowed in. But a local security guard said that sometimes, on snowy nights, they heard a scurrying sound on the ceiling. One guard once said he heard children laughing in the empty hallways. Found. And when he turned to look at the 3rd floor, he saw a small hand sticking out from behind a dusty window and then disappear. I never went back to Deerbrook, but every evening, when I came home from tutoring, I always heard something scurrying on the ceiling, a small, quick, innocent, childlike scurrying sound. And sometimes, when I passed the stairs, I heard a scurrying from behind the storage room door, as if someone was counting, as if the game of hide and seek hadn't ended yet, and the scurrying was still looking for me. I always thought abandoned houses were scary only because they were silent. But they weren't. What's scarier is when they weren't silent, when something inside them was waiting for you to breathe hard, for you to walk into a dark room, for you to close your eyes for a few seconds. My story takes place in the spring of 2014, in the small town of Beckley, West Virginia. There was an abandoned house the whole town called the Thompson House, a house that no one dared to go near after dusk. Not because people believed in ghosts, but because 2 kids went missing there in 1991. Those 2 kids were never found. That night, a group of friends and I, Kyle, Jenna, and Drew, decided to go to the Thompson House for a test of courage. We had just graduated from high school. Young, self-centered, stupid. Kyle said, "Those kids are missing because they fell into a well." Drew turned on his flashlight and laughed. "Or they're just really good at hiding." I didn't laugh. I always felt the atmosphere here was wrong. From the moment I passed through the rusted gate, I felt like I was entering a place where light didn't belong. The Thompson House was a large 2-story house with a collapsed tiled roof and broken windows that stared at us like black eyes. The grass grew knee-high, and the backyard had a rusty slide, the only thing that proved that children had ever lived here. Kyle said, "Let's play hide and seek. Each of us hide somewhere. Mallory counts." I was about to refuse, but Jenna said, "Just 5 minutes, then we'll go home. It's okay." I was wrong to believe that. I stood in the living room, facing the wall, and began counting. Sen. My voice echoed off the wall, as if swallowed. As I counted, I heard footsteps running in the attic. The door upstairs slammed shut. Someone giggling in the hallway. It wasn't my friend. It was too soft, too quick, and sounded like it came from a child of about 7 or 8. I stopped counting. Silence. Absolute silence. Then from somewhere in the darkness, a low whisper, almost inhuman. Keep counting. Don't stop. I froze. I turned around, no one. Though I trembled, I continued counting, as if someone were forcing me to. When I reached 20, I said, "It's done. I'm going to go find it." I walked down the hallway downstairs. The dining room was empty. The kitchen was freezing, though it was warm outside. The back door was locked from the inside. No Kyle. No Drew. No Yenna. I went up to the second floor. The stairs creaked under my feet. Upstairs there were 3 doors. The middle one was open. I heard someone running inside. My flashlight shone in, and dust filled the air as if something had just passed by very quickly. "Yenna?" I called. No answer. I opened the door to the right room. Empty. The window was nailed shut. Scrawled in charcoal on the wall were, "Helikesit venvahita." My heart sank. I opened the door to the left room. The room was dark, as if the light had been sucked out. The smell of damp old fabric. The smell of rotting paint. Something smelled a little fishy, like metal. In the corner of the room was an old wardrobe, the door ajar. I saw a small, pale foot sticking out from inside. I went closer, trembling. "Yenna, are you okay?" I pulled the wardrobe door open. No one, just a ragged doll lying on the floor. And the foot, I saw the doll's foot, stretched out as if someone had grabbed it and pulled it so hard it tore. Behind me, the door slowly closed. I turned around, panicking. No one. Just darkness and a faint tapping on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. I ran into the hallway, screaming for someone. I heard Kyle answer, but it was coming from the basement, where there was no light, and the door was rot. I opened the basement door. The smell of damp earth and rotting wood wafted up. The stairs stretched down into the darkness. "Kyle," I called. A voice answered, but it wasn't Kyle. The voice was younger, softer, and distorted, like someone was imitating it. "Come here." I backed away. The basement door slammed shut, nearly crushing my arm. A running sound came from below. Fast. Screech. Then stopped right behind the door. I screamed, running back upstairs. Jenna was gone. Drew was gone. No one answered me. I ran out onto the porch, tried to open the front door. It creaked. It wouldn't open. In the frosted glass of the front door, I saw a small face pressed against the glass from the darkness behind me. Not an adult's face, not a doll's face. It was the face of a child about 7 years old. Her eyes were larger than normal. The black was as thin as ink. She smiled a smile that stretched to her cheeks. I turned. No one. But the glass still had a blurred image of her face, like frost. I ran to the kitchen to find a window. As I ran through the hallway, I saw Jenna standing at the end of the hall, her back to me. Her hair was wet and hanging down. Her dress was torn at the back. "Jenna," I shouted. She didn't turn around. She didn't move. I stepped closer. My heart was pounding like it was going to burst out of my chest. When she was an arm's length away, Jenna turned around. But it wasn't Jenna. Not a human face. No nose. No mouth. Just 2 deep slits like someone had dug eyes into a doll's face and stuffed darkness in. I fell backward. The thing walked toward me, slowly, its small feet pounding on the rotten wood floor. I crawled backward, hitting my butt against the wall. The thing said, a childish, distorted voice, "Your turn, hide." I dashed out of the house through the kitchen window, landing on the broken glass. I ran like crazy across the yard, ignoring the rust on my feet. Behind me, I heard small feet running on the porch. Not one, many, running everywhere, clattering, frantically, like children chasing each other in the night. I didn't turn back. The police found me on the main road, in a state of cold shock. They returned to the Thompson house with flashlights and dogs. No Yenna. No Kyle. No Drew. The house was empty, completely empty, but on the second floor wooden floor, a thin layer of dust covered a scrawled line, written in a child's handwriting. We played well. We played tomorrow. No staff dared stay to take pictures. The house was locked, fenced, and demolished in 2016. But in 2019, when I drove past the lot, my limbs froze. On the bare ground where the house once stood, an old wooden door lay in the grass, torn from the ground, as if someone had pushed it up from below. I stood there, stunned. A cold wind blew up from the crack under the door, and I heard very faintly a child's voice whispering from the ground, "It's your turn to hide." I turned and ran, not daring to look back. And from that day on, every time I entered my house, I always locked all the closet doors, all the bed drawers, all the floor doors, because I knew one thing: there are games that never end, and the one you are playing with is not human.